Guys, and welcome to this particular training. We are going to dive in today everything to do with getting more paid in fulls, how to hold more leverage, get more paid in fulls, ultimately collect more cash up front so that you're not just heavily reliant on monthly payments. This isn't an argument against monthly payments. It's just that if your business is currently doing well and you want to scale things quickly and move things at a better rate, ultimately it's going to come down to needing more cash in the business. So I'm going to show you how to be able to do that with way more confidence, ultimately close more deals, bank more cash, and have way more impact within your business. This is one little piece of what I like to call the sales efficiency engine. I run all of this with all of my sales teams, with all of the closers within the 6 and 7 figure online businesses that I work with, and we also implement this with a lot of the one-to-one clients that I work with as well. Typically, everybody that I'm working with is already doing sort of north of 8K a month. Not to say that you shouldn't do this if you're below that, but typically below that, you're in the race to build up that recurring revenue. At that kind of 8K plus, you've hit the VAT threshold. Now, cash in the bank is incredibly important. So this is for you if you're doing a couple of grand a month. This is for you if you're doing 50 grand a month. It doesn't really matter. How we're going to be able to collect more cash within the business is going to be a huge bonus to us. So let's get stuck in to the first part. Here we go. So there you go, the sales efficiency engine. You've built the business off the back of monthly payments to create yourself a bit of a safety net, which is smart. You like monthly recurring revenue, but you've forgotten one key piece of buying psychology, and that is that a payment in full is complete closure. It's the highest level of trust in you, whereas monthly payments have an element of risk aversion. They're not quite ready to simply just go all in, burn the boats and give you everything as of day one. And plus, not everybody likes to pay for things monthly. So for me personally, with most of the things that matter, if it comes in like an investment within my business or within myself, I prefer to just pay things off in one go. I can just focus on the actual task at hand and not have to worry or stress about future payments. So look at how you pay for things that matter. It will tell you a lot. Look, this isn't a training around an argument of payment plans against paid in fulls. Like, you should have both. As I mentioned before, it's smart to build up monthly revenue until a point where you've got that kind of breathing space. Now that could be 5K a month, 6K a month, it could be just below the VAT threshold. It doesn't really matter. It's smart to do both. This isn't an argument for or against payment plans. Training today is going to show you how to hold more leverage, create higher authority, handle the financial objection, put you in a position to be able to collect more cash within the business. So not a bad little trio of things we're going to do here. Because after all, cash is the lifeblood of your business. Listen, you might like monthly recurring revenue, but would you be opposed to an extra 10K in cash collected this month? I wouldn't think so. So one of the clients that I'm working with right now, as an example, is Josh, who is a fitness coach. He already does between 11 and 12K a month. Nice rating. So he already does between 11 and 12K a month, which is nice. And he charges around 250 quid a month. So again, a really good setup. He's built his entire business in this way, and he has a couple of coaches underneath him as well that he charges slightly different price points for, which is a completely different topic for a whole other video. Just zoom into this. Inside our first month working together, he's already collected 16.8K in cash collected. Now, with another 2.6K to come in from his typical recurring, he only needs another 1.4K to come in to make this a 20K month. Now, he has 11 calls booked in before the end of the month, and we know based on his current conversion rate that he's probably actually going to bring in about 3 to 4K. So he's going to fly past that 20K month, and it's going to be his biggest month ever in business. So we moved from charging 250 quid a month. Oh, let me get this out. 250 quid a month to 950 as an upfront payment. But that is 950 for the first 3 months with a pre-agreed second phase for the following 6 months at 250 quid a month. Now, don't get me wrong, some of these sales have been on monthly payments. They couldn't pay the 950, so therefore he broke it down into monthly. But because of the price anchor, he's now able to charge 300 to 350 quid per month across 6 months, which is a price increase and quite a significant one as well. Another benefit of this is to simply price anchor. And what this also means is using a percentage of the extra cash that it brings in, that extra 8+ K of revenue that'll come in, he'll be able to reinvest back into his ad spend, which in turn next month should produce another record month, especially as that 950 we're looking to increase towards 1200 moving forward and ultimately to 1500. 5-figure jumps in revenue is the name of the game here. Let's actually get straight into how we do it. So there are stages to acquiring a paid in full or collecting more cash. So let's look into why someone would actually pay you in full. So they have the cash, and that's typically how they would buy things. It's part of their buying behavior. It's within their personality type. They're just ready to go. They've been aware of what you do, the results you get, have consumed you for a long time, and are just ready to go all in. So these are typically the people that have been in and around your world for a long. They've consumed all of your content. They've taken all of your free trainings. They may have even been on calls with you in the past and not bought. And at this particular point now, they're ready to just get stuck in. Here's where it starts to get a little bit more techie. So you've created a big enough gap from where they are to where they want to be, that the desire to change and the urgency to start now is overpowering. The objection isn't financial, but they're looking for the courage to make the decision to go ahead with it. So this is probably something that you're unable to identify. Sometimes, even though they might bring up price as the objection, it's actually fear-based or uncertainty. And they're willing and ready to pay in full. It's just that they need the kind of the courage and the help to overcome whatever it is that's in their head right now to move forward, which is where obviously we're going to get into. You've been able to reframe their commitment from dipping their toe or being more risk averse to going all in being the only option. We're going to focus on the final 3 on this list. Whilst they can be standalone reasons, they typically flow into each other. AKA, you can systematically break through each one whilst you are on a call. Now, the reason why you aren't doing or you're struggling to identify one or all of these is because you need more authority. You need more of a, I don't need you, you need me type mentality. You need way more leverage. This is a big one that people just don't quite understand fully. We're not talking about being a dick on the call, but you have to understand that the more desperate that you sound for the sale, the more they're going to sniff it and the more they're going to control the frame and control the environment. At the end of the day, you provide the solution to the problem that they have, so they need to convince you as the reason why they're a good fit for your program. That's the kind of the mentality that you need to have, because you want to be able to help the best fits for your program. That's the only way you're going to get more of a reputation, be able to increase your prices, by having more transformations and testimonials. And that only comes from having the best quality people inside of your program. And what I mean by best quality are the ones that are actually ready to get moving, not the ones that you have to convince or manipulate to buy ultimately. Now, this was actually a really huge focus for one of my clients, Paul Mort. You may or may not know of him. When I came in working with Paul, their sales team was struggling. They were being too nice and letting far too many people off the hook, and it meant they were only getting really kind of 4 to 6 sales per month from this particular funnel within the business. And for an offer that helps men overcome fear, overcome their chaotic lives and whatever else where they are wrapped up in fear, like that's a recipe for disaster. We worked on those 3 elements in particular, and we were able to unlock in a 6-month period 500k of revenue, 200k of which was cash collected. You'll have to apologise about my handwriting. I do write like my own 4-year-old. Actually, it's worse than my 4-year-old. Now, for an already multi-million pound business, to find an extra $500,000 is not a bad deal at all. I'm assuming you're going to agree. Because at the end of the day, this was $500,000 that wasn't being brought in previously, but we were able to draw it out because we focused on these 3 things as a priority. Having more authority, having more of a mentality of that they need us more than we need them. Because at the end of the day, if Paul didn't make a single sale, his life wouldn't change. has the money, has the revenue, lots of recurring revenue, 7 figures in recurring revenue, for God's sake. So he doesn't need to make a single sale in order for this business to survive and thrive and get people results. The prospects on the call had to take ownership of their decisions, and that's one of the key things that we implemented. And it's going to be a recurring theme of what we actually do here. But let's get into the next part of that list. Like, you'll see how these will all mold into each other. But the next part is creating a bigger gap. Now, if we had enough time, I'd go through the entirety of the sales framework, but I'll save that for another training. In fact, if you are watching this, DM me the word HCSM on Instagram, and I'll give you my sales course that I usually charge about $995 for, completely free. So typically, when you're asking about their struggles and their goals, you're getting okay responses, but you're failing to do this one key thing, which is challenge. You just ain't doing it. You have to ask the question, is it enough of a needle mover for them to pay double what I charge? And if the answer to that question is no, then you've got way more work to do. It's as simple as that. As an example, if someone comes to me and says they want to grow their business, they're currently making about $2,000 a month and their goal is to get to 5. Is that really enough of a needle mover to hypothetically pay me $4,000? You might be sat there thinking, maybe, maybe not. Well, there's the problem. We're not sure. Maybe, maybe not. Or if I'm able to find out that they'd actually love to make more, it's just that they don't think that they can. And if I'm able to dig deep into that, challenge their belief systems and help them to become confident of going for what they truly actually want, which turns out to be as much as possible, which in reality for them that they've told me is more like 20K a month. The gap is now way bigger. The need for help is bigger. Then the desire will become bigger. We could easily say that that's more of a reason or more of a needle mover to pay this hypothetical $4,000 to get the help in order to achieve this goal. A quick rundown of how I actually like to do this, and we'll kind of get into the weeds of this now. When I'm on a call, which you'll see all of this in way more detail in the free sales training if you DM me HCSM on Instagram. But here's what I'm looking to do. I need to find the big goal and the pain attached to not being able to achieve it. I want to then be able to future pace and build a reality around achieving it. And then the consequence of not achieving it or not working towards it. Those are 3 key areas of the sales process that I need to know and understand in order to create the biggest gap possible. In the example that I've just used, let's draw something out. Let's see what my drawing skills look like. Let's just draw a line, use it as a bit of a spectrum, if you like. Let's just pretend here's where they are currently. Here's where they said they wanted to be, which was so we're at 2K. They wanted to be at 5K. Once we challenged, it actually turned out that they were there. Yeah. As we successfully future pace and build that kind of reality, then in theory, the gap is going to be over here. The place that they really, really want to be. Again, apologies about the writing, but that's just reality. So as you can see here, the gap is pretty big, yeah? The gap between here and here is pretty big. Now, this is usually when somebody would come in and pitch. They'd pitch off the back of this and then struggle to get them over the line. So what we need to do is take it a step further. We need to be able to, we're now going to make the gap so big that the desire to change will become intoxicating. If we talk about the consequence of inaction and we help them paint a vivid picture of what more of the same would look like, or even worse if they don't work on this solution, you can see how the gap widens because they're no longer going to be stuck here where they are at 2K, but more of the same, or if things get worse, oh, I've lost my pen, more of the same, or if things get worse, could now be down here. And depending on what their current situation is here and how good or how bad it is, this gap could be even back there. Now, if we look at that, the gap is even bigger. And that's the whole point. Again, all of this is in way more detail in the high converting sales regime. But again, remember, the bigger the gap, the more desire and urgency to change now you'll actually create, and that's it. And remember, the bigger the gap, the more desire and urgency to change you'll help to create. now. That's the key thing. We want them to want to change now. Not maybe, but absolutely. They want to get this done now. There's no other solution. It's got to happen now. And as long as we can identify fear early and know how to handle it, we can rewire a give it a go or dip their toe mentality of a payment plan into complete closure of a paid in full, or at least a split pay into where you get more cash up front. It's as simple as that. But a key question being is, how do we create more authority? What we want to make sure we are doing is that we challenge, we don't skip ahead, and we ask hard questions. Authority comes from being a leader, showing up for them, showing them that we aren't going to just take shit answers, basically, because nothing gets done unless we dig deep enough, and we want them to feel comfortable and confident enough to give us the information that we need in order to help them. If you're just there to be nicey nice, then ultimately you're doing them a disservice. We want to create an environment of, I won't let you get away with not taking ownership. And ownership is the key. It's part of the way that we create the frame. I don't need you, it's you that needs me, without openly saying it to them. And there's a few key things that we need to listen out to in order to help us kind of challenge. There's a lot more than this, but these are just some real basic ones that will typically come up quite a lot. Whenever they say something along the lines of, I think, or I suppose so, if they say things along the lines of, I'll give it a try, and even when they say, I need to do. Examples of when they might say, I think so, or I suppose so, is like, do you think that that's something that could help you with what you're looking for right now? I think so. Or yeah, I suppose so. So what we want to do there is, typically you'll be taught to challenge it straight away. Yeah, you do, but you want to at least give it a second, because the quicker you respond, the more it sounds like you're jumping down their throat. So let's just say, for example, we say, okay, based on what we've been through, do you believe that can actually get you the results that you're looking for? Or can you be confident that what we've been through here is going to give you a benefit? Yeah, I think so. You don't sound so sure. Or you say, so how come you've said you think so? Is there something that you're uncertain of? Or why do we sound so unsure of that? Or when you say you suppose so, do you know so? Or are you just quite unsure? Really, really simple, but language matters. When they say something along the lines of like, I'd give it a try. And again, if that's something in regard, if that's a question that's been positioned to them based in and around your sort of program, why would you what makes you say you would only give it a try and not go all in? Is this not something that's actually that important to you right now? Or are you just unsure? Or are you just unsure as to whether you can? Again, I want to challenge what they think. And then this is a good one. Whenever you say like, how important is this for you to kind of do it right now or whatever, and they say, yeah, I really need to do this. Again, take a second and reply with, I mean, you don't need to do this. The question here is, do you actually want to though? Because that's important. We all feel as though we need to do things, but it's whether we want to do it is the important part. The intention and the action is what matters. Now, the reason why we do that is because I want them to say, oh no, 100%, I absolutely do want to. Because I can always follow up with, now don't just be saying that because you think that's what I want to hear. Just be honest with yourself more than anything. Do you actually want to do this? Because that's what's important. And again, we're just getting them to double tie down, double confirm, really agree that this is exactly what it is that they want to do. It's as simple as that. But regardless of that, whatever your follow-ups from there actually is, you need to be aware of the three C's. Whatever you respond with, however you say it, do it with confidence, conviction, and clarity, which my writing has no clarity, but there you go. You have to believe what you say, because remember, and I really like this kind of mindset when it comes to your business in general. How you coach is how you sell, is how you market. If there's a disconnect between any of those, you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle to have the right people in your business. You're going to struggle to retain. You're going to struggle to get results. You're going to struggle to sell. You're going to struggle to market. You're going to struggle to get leads. It all matters. It all has to align. So we actually implemented this with one of the biggest fitness brands in the UK, Physique Academy. In May 2025, just as I came in, their cash collected was 78k, just shy of 80k, which is no small feat. In June, we worked on all of those various different things that I've just mentioned above, as well as the things I'm about to go into now, which resulted in the cash collected for June being 131k. More paid in fulls, more upfront cash collected, which resulted in a 50k uplift in cash into the bank. And here's that next part that I'm talking about. The financial objection smokescreen. Look, sometimes some people, no matter how urgent or how much desire that they have to change, they simply do not have the money to move forward. And that's okay. You can't close everybody, and not everybody is willing to pay the money for what you have. Sometimes you're losing all of your leverage because the moment they bring up price, you quickly try to offer payment plans, thinking it'll help it get over the line. And then what happens is that they hit you with the, well, I need to go and think about it anyway, objection. So you're back to square one. Now, we can handle this in a million different ways, but the problem there is that this would turn into what would feel like a Netflix special series. You're going to have to add context in regards to your conversations and your calls to implement some of the strategies that we're using here. This is based off us done the pitch and we've dropped the price. You're going to hear one of these, one, all of, or something slightly different, but variations of the same of, wow, that's a lot of money. Is that just a one-off payment? And is there a payment plan? Very quickly, just a couple of responses that you can provide to make sure that you don't just shit the bed and just offer a payment plan straight off the bat or become too combative. So whenever they say something along the lines of, wow, that's a lot of money, or wow, that's expensive, never, ever, ever justify your price. What you don't ever want to do is go, well, you know, you do get this and you do get that. You get all this training. You get, have you seen all the testimonials? Like you don't ever want to do that. Instead, respond with this. When you say it's expensive, do you mean that you don't see the value and don't believe that you can get those results? Or is it just simply the upfront payment that's a problem? So what we've done there is I need them to explain to me what it is that they are uncertain of. I'm questioning their potential ability to believe that they can get the results, because that's then something that we can handle, or whether it is just simply the upfront payment. When we look at the next one, when they ask if it's just a one-off payment, my response would always be, typically, yes. Why? What is it that you're thinking? And I'd leave it at that. Exactly the same for, is there a payment plan? I would say, not typically. Why? What is it that you're thinking? I want to put the ball in their court. I want them to explain to me what solutions that they could maybe come up with. Because from here, I want to take the conversation away from money as quickly as possible. But I just need to hear what they're thinking first. And with their response, that's when I just divert and we go in a different direction completely. I need to try and identify whether there's fear, uncertainty, doubt, or something different, because at the end of the day, no matter how flexible we make those payments, if there's any element of fear, doubt, or uncertainty, then they ain't paying us a penny. It doesn't matter if you turn that into £5 a week, they're not paying, they're not signing up. There's something else at play. Our aim is to build certainty around the program and their belief in it and themselves. And if there's any elements of uncertainty, we can dive in and challenge straight away. A quick note, you should have already challenged this head on within your discovery. So any elements of fear and uncertainty, you should have picked up on that within your previous questioning and been able to have continuously handled that throughout the conversation and not just come across it right here in the objection handling phase. But there are always occasions where no matter how much you do that or how agreeable that they are within the initial part of the conversation, that they kind of just throw the curveball here. So don't kick yourself if it does. Essentially, what you want to do is build up enough evidence to tie down that A, they absolutely want to do your program, and B, they want to make the change and there's enough desire and urgency to do it now. Only at this point, only at the point of when you've completely done this, and again, this is going to come into completely rewiring the way that they think, challenge, creating analogies, using binary scenarios, which we'll come into in just a moment. But you need to get that conversation away from money, talk about their fears, talk about their uncertainties, and tie down that they absolutely want to do your program and that they want to make the change, and there's enough desire in order to do that right now. Once you've done that, we can finally bring it back to the financial. And again, there's all different types of ways that you can do this, but I'm going to keep it very simple. So is it a case of that you do have the money, you just need some courage, or you just need some confidence and help to make that decision? You can even go into the negative. Is it that you do have the money, you're just a little bit unsure of the program, or you're a little bit unsure of yourself still? Is it B, that you do have some of the money and it's just the logistics of actually how to pay to get started today? Or is it that you have none of the money and me and you, we need to go turn someone over in order to get the cash? Typically they'll usually have a little giggle at that one. If it's A, if it's the fact that they do have the money and they're just a little bit uncertain, or they do have the money and they just need a little bit of help, confidence, courage in order to make the decision, you still have work to do. You still have work to do. You've not been able to uncover it in the objections previously, so sit in and keep going. Now, you might feel as that this point we're being pushy, but at the end, and if they bring that up as an example, if they say, oh, like, you know, you start to handle the objection again, and they kind of say, I feel like I'm being pressured or I'm being a little bit pushy, there's a really easy way to overcome that. It's to lean in or agree, which might sound a little bit stupid. But if someone was to say to me like, oh, I feel like there's a lot of pressure to make the decision right now, I'd say, in all honesty, I agree. It feels like you are under a lot of pressure due to your current circumstance. Now, the pressure that I'm putting on you here today is the pressure to change, is the pressure to make a decision about whether you want to do something about it or not. The pressure of the pressure of saying no and just staying exactly as you are, and kind of continuing with the pressure that you have in your everyday life, or the pressure to say yes and to lean into that pressure and do something different to get a better result and a better outcome, which hopefully one day alleviates the way that you're currently feeling. There's no pressure from me to join the program. It's pressure to make a decision. That's all I'm asking. And either one is fine. Again, it's another way of giving them complete control and ownership around the decision, and me saying, well, I'm willing to take this away. It doesn't matter to me what happens next. It's your decision and you've got to make it. So lean into them or agree whenever they bring up pressure or being pushy. Just, yeah, I am being pushy. I think you actually need someone who's going to push you to make a decision, because I don't think anybody else has previously, which is why you're in the position you're in right now. So if you don't like people pushing you, then this program probably isn't going to be from you. I'm not pushing you to say yes. I'm pushing you to say yes or no. And a no is fine. You just got to be okay with the outcome. And you'll probably find at that point, they're still not willing to say no, which means they want to say yes. They need the help and the courage in order to do so. Help them find it. Simple. So one of the other things I like to do as well is, especially when there's elements of confidence or just something along those lines, like that's a really big sticking block. Things along the lines of, where do we actually build confidence from? Is it from sitting there and thinking about doing the thing? Or is it from actually starting and realizing along the way that you can get better? Like for you as an example, and here's how and then you would insert something that they can relate to within their life. And every single time there's a penny that drops and they become agreeable and they want to move forward. So a little bit similar to what I kind of said before as well, as an alternative, I always like to give them a binary in regards to the decision that they need to make, whether there's going to be a yes or no. Ultimately, there's only two options to decide between, and it's all in your hands at the end of the day. You can say yes, go all in and decide to change your current situation, or say no, which is honestly fine because it is a decision, but one that means nothing changes and it's more of the same. You just have to be okay with that. So which one would you prefer? Let that be your decision now, okay? Is it a yes or a no? And the moment that you put that kind of frame in, that kind of, I'm putting my flag down and saying you've got something that you need to do, they generally tend to reciprocate quite well. They say, you know what, no, it's not the right time. You say, well, perfect, that's it. We don't need to talk about it anymore. You crack on and get on with the rest of your life doing something else and thinking of something else. Or they say yes, and you go to payment. Simple. Any situation, I'm working to build up the internal pressure until they ask, how do we get moving? Is there a payment plan? Is there no way we can break this down into a monthly payment, or whatever it might be? I want them to start asking me about how do they get started because they just can't pay the upfront fee, or whatever. It doesn't matter. I want them bringing it back to finances. And even when they do bring up finances, I'm going to tie down again. I'm going to make sure that they absolutely want to, not that they need to, but that they absolutely want to move forward. And now is the right time, and that they are ready. If I can figure something out, are they willing to take action on it? Or if I find the opportunity to ask, listen, if we could work something out that would mean you could get started today, would you be willing to take action on that? Get the response, okay, so what could you invest today so that we can take that first step? Once we've done this, we can work out the rest. Intention, and this is always a key word I always use, intention is the thing that's important for me. At this point that they may even offer you, well, I can pay half. Okay, amazing, give me half then, move on. Or they'll bring up some elements of a lower fee, whatever it might be. Always kind of aim to challenge the amount that they give you. You get to decide how much it takes to actually get into your program, and you then dictate the terms. Just be willing to work out those details here and now. I usually work out the remaining balance details as I'm taking their payment, and have their card details. As I'm tippy tapping it away, okay, cool. Now, how do you think you'll be able to make the remaining balance of £1,000? Do you want to split that in two over the next 2 months, or do you think you'll pay it off in full next one? Blah, blah, blah. And now you can really start to talk about it. It's better to do it now than before you take payment, because they'll again find reasons to run away from the call. So let's get into why this ultimately works. You've held all the leverage. You didn't put all your cards on the table too soon, giving them the ability to continue to keep objecting. You having nowhere to go once you've done it. And a key thing here as well is that you're not forcing them to do something that they don't want to do. You're allowing them to be in full control of their decision, which is empowering them. It's creating ownership. It's you being a leader. It's you showing up to be the person that they need you to be. You might be thinking that it's pushy, that it's scary, whatever. That's fine. I'm not here to try and convince you to do anything differently within your business, but you are watching this training likely because you know that you do need to do something different, and you want to increase the amount of cash that's coming in on a monthly basis. You want to make it more predictable and more consistent. Just think about what higher injections of cash into your business would do, whether that's buying a flashy car, or whether it's reinvesting it back into tools that will scale the business more quickly, which I'm going to assume is the most likely. Just a lot easier to do when you know how to inject larger stacks of cash into the business. It could be your first 20k month, it could be your first 30k, 50k, 100k, whatever. It doesn't really matter. More cash flow is never a bad thing. If you've got this far and you want more free trainings just like this, then check for the links somewhere down below, depending on where you're actually watching this. Now, if you've heard enough and you want to work with me personally on how to unlock 5-figure jumps in revenue, then head over to Instagram and DM me the word 5FJ, and I'll send you over all of the information around the next intake to work with me personally. I appreciate your time and spending the time with me on this training today. Go and implement all of this. Go take all of the free stuff. Go head over to Instagram if you want to talk to me about working with me, and let's see if we can make you one of the next success stories.